afternoon, everyone. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Can everyone hear me? I'm Caitlin Frazier, and on behalf of the Finding Common Ground Executive Board, I'd like to welcome our distinguished panelists and all of you students and other faculty and administrators who came out for today's event. Before I introduce our panelists, I'm going to give a little bit of history about this series and why we're here today. Finding Common Ground was founded in 2006 in an effort to initiate dialogue on our campus between the different divisions of our campus organizations and departments. The original series of programming consisted of a keynote speaker, a series of breakout discussion meal groups, and a forum called GT Listens, where Georgia Tech administrators held an open forum for students to voice their concerns over various campus issues and concerns. This program, GT Talks, is the next natural step in that series. In order to determine what kind of administrators you would like to talk to, we held a Skiles campaign at the end of last fall where we asked students the question, if you could talk about one thing on this campus, what would it be? We received over 300 responses from that campaign, and we compiled those results, and so I'm here to introduce to you today the first half of our program, which are the campus services and auxiliary services areas here. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first panelist, Rosalind Myers. And panelists, if you will give a brief introduction of who you are, what you are doing and have been doing, and what you're planning to do. About a very brief introduction.
Okay. I'm Rosalind Myers. I'm the Associate Vice President for Auxiliary Services. To tell you a little bit about myself, I've been here at Georgia Tech for 13 and a half years. I came here in 1995 before the Olympics, and before that I spent 10 years at Temple University, and prior to that 10 years with Price Waterhouse, which is now known as PricewaterhouseCoopers. And I was in the audit division there, not the consulting division. I know most of you who are an IE aspire to go with a big consulting firm. Auxiliary Services is a very large and complex organization. Let me just tell you what is in it, and then I'll tell you a little bit about our mission statement, what we try to accomplish, and how we try to listen to our customers, which are students first, and then, of course, faculty, staff, and administration. Auxiliary Services first is the bookstore, which, as you know, is outsourced to Barnes & Noble, but that doesn't mean we don't have an active part in how it's run day to day. And it also includes Burdell's, which is in the Student Center Commons. Housing is part of Auxiliary Services. Housing has about 8,700 beds, 44 buildings, a very vibrant residence life program. It includes GTCN, which is here filming us today, and also ResNet, which is, of course, essential to the whole housing and Georgia Tech experience. Dining is another part of Auxiliary Services, and it includes our resident dining halls, of which there are 2, catering, and approximately 12 to 15 different retail operations, depending upon how you define an operation. Parking and transportation is the next part of Auxiliary Services. That includes 12,000, give or take a few hundred, parking spaces around the campus in decks and in surface lots, 3 Stinger routes, 1 trolley route, and of course the Stingerette at night for security and during the day for disability services. Health services is part of Auxiliary Services. That includes the medical clinic, the women's clinic, lab and x-ray, dental clinic, pharmacy, and health promotion, which is student health education. The Student Center is another part of Auxiliary Services. That includes the programs area, tech rec, Student Center operations, all food and laundry vending is under the Student Center, Tech Square retail, and the post office. The Buzz Card Center is the last part of Auxiliary Services, and I think you all know what the Buzz Card does. Besides being the campus ID, it's really your key to practically everything else on campus. Auxiliary Services has a mission statement that's 4 paragraphs long and you can find on the web, but the main components of it are this. Our mission is to create community, extend the learning environment beyond the classroom by providing quality goods and services. We support the academic and research mission of the Institute. We set the standard for excellence. Of course, we're always trying. We never reach where we want to be on the campus and in the country. And last, we are required under the rules of the state and the Board of Regents, for the most part, to be financially self-sustaining so that we can grow and maintain our operations. We have a tagline, which is auxiliary services, all the important stuff. And a student coined that many, many years ago, maybe about 8 or 10. And then my motto, which I came up with a few years ago, which I think really embodies what we're about, and that is auxiliary services love students. Thanks.
Our next panelist is Dan Morrison, Director of Housing.
Good afternoon. I am Dan Morrison. I'm the Director of Residence Life, actually, which is kind of the complication of how a big department is organized. Housing at Tech, as you heard Rosalind say, is 44 buildings, almost 9,000 residents, and if you actually count all the people who live in family housing, meaning the spouses and children, we're actually over 9,000 people. And that actually makes us a very large operation on actually a pretty medium-sized college campus. Most places who have 8,000 or 9,000 students living on campus have 40 or 50,000 students who attend there. So we're kind of different, and that really started because of the Olympics, and then in the last couple of years, also the acquisition of the North Avenue apartments. Housing is divided into 4 operations within its area. Residence Life is the area over which I get to lead, and that is all the things to do with the students who live in the buildings. That's how I like to categorize it. So that's everything from safety and well-being to programs and activities to double checking on how people are doing and hopefully extending that learning environment as the mission of auxiliary services speaks about into the residence hall system. We are also our own facilities operation. We have our own crews, basically, that take care of everything. So we have our own electricians and plumbers and painters and carpenters and locksmiths, etc. And we really are a self-sustaining organization in that way. We also have our administration and budgeting area, and right now they're busily going through our room selection process for next year, where we will see by Monday next week how many of the 6,000 or so students who live with us currently will want to return for another year. And then our last area is our conference services area. Conference services is the area that really takes advantage of our residence hall spaces in the summertime when we are not full because summer school is not as big an operation. So we bring in everything from sports camps and cheerleader camps to adult groups. We've been the host the last 4 years of a major Teach for America training program where we bring in over 800 students to live with us for 6 weeks. And by having this conference services enterprise, we're actually able to hold down rent increases because we're making money in the summer with a different set of student people who are not students at Georgia Tech. A little bit about myself. I've been here for 12 years. I came right after the Olympics. I like to say that one of the things I got to do for the first few years was really help Georgia Tech learn to be a large residential campus, which really means a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week, 365-day-a-year campus. I came from the University of Maryland at College Park, where I worked for 10 years, and for 5 years before that, I was at Ohio State. So I've been at big, major residential operations. One of the things that I really enjoy about working at Tech is the fact that being a part of auxiliary services, we really are asked to listen to the voice of our customers all the time. We have 2 major surveys that we do every year. One is about to be launched, which is our benchmarking survey, where we ask about 1,500 students to complete quite an exhaustive survey to tell us about their experience with us this year, as well as things that they would like to see in the future. And we try to take those data sets to improve every year in residence life and in housing. So I'll kind of wait for the questions after that. Thank you.
Our next panelist is Todd Schramm from